Usually I see his initial, or this one I didn't
It's
see.
that one up there.
Does Nate,
Yeah.
does Nate have to initial every one of them?
They might not do the.
I don't know.
4450. Yeah.
I would ask Tyson.
So it sounds like a good game.
I would ask
It's
Tyson.
almost-
Been a bit of a blow.
Tyson, does Nate need to initial every one of them?
I don't think he has to, but he should.
Oh,
Did I miss one?
yeah, that's why I was like, I'm like, well, that's odd, just to check.
The days are getting longer from here on out.
Yeah.
Across the side.
Starting tomorrow, yeah, yeah.
I'm ready for
Ready for
longer
spring.
days.
I was ready for spring 2 months
We're getting a
ago.
taste of spring this week.
I know, that's so not
Such a
helpful.
teaser.
Thank you.
Yep.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening. Any additions to the agenda?
Mayor and council would like to make two changes or two additions here. 3.14 under consent agenda, I'd like to have a library grant approved. And 3.15 Humane Society agreement.
We have a 3.14, or 3, which is the, so 3.15.
Sorry, 3.15 and 3.16.
Okay, and say those again, sorry.
Library grant for 3.15. And 3.16 is renewal on our Humane Society agreement.
I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Visitors to be heard this evening. Speak now, all right. On to 3 consent agenda. I forgot, Rob, you're a little bit delayed, so I wasn't really patient for you on the phone, so Rob's joining us over the phone. Consent agenda, Nate, anything you'd like to draw attention to this evening?
Just a few items here, Mayor. 3.13, the garbage hauler license renewals. We received all of those as of today. So we've got 4 renewals there. We are looking at an update potentially next year to the timeline on this. We've always done it in December. That's also when Lincoln County does it. And so theirs is pending with Lincoln County while it's pending with us. We prefer to have the Lincoln County one done first. So we may move that back next year. We have a patrol officer resignation from Colt Bradley. Colt has been here, I think, 4 years. That's not right, right? Will. Phenomenal officer. Sad to see him go, but very happy for him in his new role. 3.15 is a library grant. This is for new furniture and replacements at the public library. It's the T-Mobile grant. Applied for the same grant last 2 years, but have not received it yet. I think last year was for the new circulation desk and the work that had to happen there. And then the Sioux Falls Area Humane Society, we've got the renewal here. We just received it late last week. We have asked them to get that to us sooner because they need it by the end of the year. It doesn't line up real well with our schedule, but Brett and Will were able to review this, and we're ready to go forward with it.
Okay, thank you. Discussion, council.
Nice work to our streets team on keeping all traffic in Lennox flowing in real time. That was quite an effort, and weekends given up and time away from family. It's appreciated the work that goes into it. The respect you pay to our citizens and the streets themselves goes, it's easily noticed. It's awesome. Nice work.
Thank you to Christy and the Parks team for going through those policies and those, all those documents that you've updated. I think that's great, and it'll be good to see us get that implemented in the coming year.
Any other discussion, question, comments from council this evening for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll do roll call. Welch.
Aye.
Swear.
Aye.
Doherty.
Aye.
Teasy.
Hi.
Peterson.
Aye.
And Drill.
Aye.
Alright, motion carries. There's no items under 4 old business, so we'll go to 5 new business. 5.1 is ordinance 664 fiscal year 2025 supplemental appropriations.
Mayor and council, state law requires us to pass a supplemental budget at the end of the year to ensure our spending authority is extended to our current expenditures. This is considered by the council each year, basically true up the year's revenue and expenditures. Overall, I'm okay with how we did this year. I'd expect to see a net gain in the general fund most years, but we made some early year adjustments that led to some loss there. And we saw significant losses in ambulance, recreation, and swimming pool fund. Some of that is due to the addition of a new staff member, some is just due to historical challenges in operating those enterprise funds. I am a little bit concerned about the cash balance in second penny fund as we do have some major projects coming up in 2026. If sales tax revenues do not grow, we're going to need to find ways to adjust equipment purchases in 26. We've already talked a little bit with staff about what that might look like, but it's too early to say anything at this point.
Motion to approve first reading of ordinance 664.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yep, seeing that there's none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. 5.2, resolution 2025-12, 2201, schedule of fines and fees.
Mayor and council, every year we update our fines and fee schedule for the upcoming year. The changes this year include adding the annual drainage fee. That has not been on there before, but we really should have it on there. So this is the drainage fee that you pay on your property taxes already. Adding the annual street maintenance fee, that should also be on there. Water and sewer surcharge is going to see a small reduction, which should account to about $2.50 per average user, a reduction of $2.50 in your monthly bill. We're adding the oversized vehicle parking fine, increasing the plat and subdivision fees. We continue to see increased work on those. We've done 3, I think, preliminary plans this year. That takes a lot of time and effort that we're paying the engineer for. Increases to the pool season passes and swimming lessons. Increases to spring soccer, 8U baseball, and 8U softball. Reduction in 14U softball. An increase in the tournament team fee. And then there's one final change on here that's not reflected in the memo, and that is reducing the bulk water rate to reflect our actual water rate. So it's basically mirrors what the current water rate is. I asked Christy to be here tonight in case there are any questions on the recreation fees in particular, since those are probably the bigger changes that we're seeing here. But if there are no questions, I recommend a motion to approve resolution 2025-12-22-01.
Thank you, Nate. Okay, discussion, questions, council.
I'd love to hear from Christy on your analysis and what led us to these decisions.
Yep, no problem. So with the swimming pool, the season passes and the swim lessons, I spent quite a bit of time going through the other communities similar size to us to kind of see where they're at with their fee structures, and knowing that we continue having a loss at the pool, you know, as the staffing and chemicals and everything it takes to operate that. So we did a 5% increase across the board with those 3 items. For spring soccer, I have it as the same as fall now. It takes the same amount of staffing and trucking and time that it takes to go into that, so just kind of truing that up. And then with 8U baseball, a couple years ago we did have our baseball in a different league, and so we have 8U now in the same league. It's the same cost as the 10U and 12U. For that, they have the same uniforms. That was a change that was made as well. So we have the same uniforms instead of the t-shirts that we had done. It's just kind of easier for that processing and so forth. For 8U softball, we will be registering all of the kids into the USA softball registration. and we also have same uniforms, so similar costs there. The reason those are lower, the 8U from the other age groups, is we don't have umps at that age level, so. And then 14U softball, I could not determine why that was slightly higher in the past. So just reducing that to what the cost is other when I just did some looking at how much we pay for leagues for the year-end state tournament that each of those age groups can be a part of. And so made the change accordingly.
I think I shared with council before all my frustrations on the Park and Rec program fees, that we don't have actual justifiable cost tag them. It's always just been, this is what we've charged. And so Christie's kind of taken the first stab at nailing those down and figuring out what it actually costs to provide these programs. And I'm sure it will continue to be refined, but this is our first good attempt at it.
Is our goal to kind of make that a wash or not really a income?
Well, you want to have enough to cover, you know, and to build up a bit of a reserve. We don't have a reserve in 201, the recreation fund. Cover your costs at a minimum.
Yep.
Ideally, get 10% in there to build a reserve.
I did not mention, sorry, backside of my page, tournament team fee, we did increase that. Again, I just did kind of an average cost of, not the state tournament, because that's covered in the regular registrations as it is for the other programs, but for those who try out and make that tournament team, I did a simple math with how much it costs for them to be in 2 tournaments, so that will be paid for out of that $60 additional, divided by the average amount of players for each of those teams. And then anything above and beyond that, if they do more than 2 tournaments, then the families will cover the additional themselves.
Good deal.
Question for you, and this might sound a little scatterbrained because I'm not sure how to ask it, but I know like baseball and softball, it sounds, I think maybe you said this too, that at one time that some of the other towns, they generate a lot of income from doing more tournaments. And is that something that we would look at doing? Because like even the concessions was barely make, you know, even with that, right? But it's the tournaments that you really make income from that?
Yeah, I've been looking into that, talking to some other communities about that. I'm kind of getting mixed reviews on
Okay.
whether that's worth it or not. It's a lot of time and detail, it takes a lot of volunteerism,
Right.
so we need to make sure that the community steps in to help in those efforts, but I think we can do it. We have a big baseball community, so
Right.
I definitely, I'm trying to learn more about, you need to get your name in there if you want to take on one of the state tournaments or, you know, those sorts of things, kind of beat people to the punch with the dates that other communities are selecting so that you have players and that sort of a thing. So
Okay.
I don't necessarily foresee that for this year. Potentially the state tournament, I need to do some checking. I had a conversation with West Central about a name of somebody I can call for that. So
Okay.
looking into it,
Sure.
the logistics aren't quite figured out
Yep.
yet, but yeah.
Yep, sounds good.
I also had a question. So I see baseball field rental fee on here. As far as the batting cages go, I know there's a schedule for that, or at least I believe there is. Are you charging people who aren't part of the Lennox Parks and Rec programs to use the batting cages?
No, so those fees are really for if there's a organized team that is not associated with one of our programs. But regular community members, if a dad and kiddo wants to go out, or mom and kiddo wants to go out, then that's just open to the public, as are the rest of our
So,
facilities.
for example, if say a Chancellor team came over and was using our batting cages for an extended period of time, would that be justification to charge them a fee?
Potentially, but I will say that we have a very good partnership with them. They allow us to use their softball field for a couple of our softball teams on a regular basis and maintain that there. So I think we have a conversation about, you know, that piece of it too.
It was just a hypothetical.
Yes,
I
yes.
obviously don't have kids in the program,
Yeah.
so I'm just
Yeah.
spitballing some questions.
Yeah, but that is something that we can talk about more if there are other teams not associated with Lennox Park and Rec using that, if that's something that was not discussed at the Park and Rec meeting. So if that's something that we want to have further discussion on, I can kick that around to them as well. So whether it's an outside community or within our own district, you know, there's some teams too that are not necessarily associated with us too, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just for clarity, like I was like on It's gonna give Alderman Swear a hard time about the pickleball fee, that's so low, but that's okay. But, with, is that like per person then, or is that a team, or one night, like that? So it's $55 pickleball. How does that fee work?
So that fee, I just didn't mess with it, there's not really a lot of equipment used for
Right,
that.
yep.
We don't have any of our staff time going towards that necessarily because, the indoor pickleball, for example, is taking place, right, at the schools. We don't have any staffing structure that's needed for that, we don't have umps, we don't need a field
Right.
supervisor and that sort of a thing. But having said that, there is coordination that's involved with that. So in terms of getting it set up, working with the volunteers that are helping, tracking wins and losses and setting up the tournament schedule and that sort of
So
thing.
that fee's per person?
No,
Per team.
Per team, okay.
Per team,
Gotcha,
so
okay.
it's doubles, yeah.
Okay, I was just curious
Yeah.
how that works. I like probably sand volleyballs per team.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Okay, nope, that sounds good.
Do we wanna specify that? Cause I know like with the swimming pool, once we have in parentheses child, you know, is it worth just specifying that so we don't get
Good idea.
additional questions?
Yeah, per team, would be a good idea.
Are you suggesting amending the resolution?
Well, that might be good to declare, like for baseball and softball, that's per person.
Yeah. I
It might
think-
be good to, if it is a team, just to have team in there, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
I mean, if you had the question, other people may.
My recommendation then would be to approve
As
as amended. And if there are no further questions for Christie, there's a basketball game being cast in my office.
Well, thank you for your work, Christie.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Otherwise, I don't think we have a motion yet.
motion to approve resolution 2025-12-22-01 as amended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second as amended here, so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion carries. On to resolution, or 5.3, resolution 2025-12-2202, 2026 salaries and wages.
Mayor and Council, state law requires us to annually publish the wages and salaries for the upcoming fiscal year. Wages and salaries in this proposed resolution are based on two calculations. First, the cost of living adjustment is determined by the Midwest rolling CPI available from the Department of Labor. The most recent calculation puts that number at 2.8%. Second calculation is determined by cross-referencing the employee's performance evaluation score with the formula contained in the city's personnel policies. The resulting calculation is included in the wages in this resolution. There are three caveats here that I want to make sure I note. Recent analysis shows a market adjustment justified for the library director, as well as for the police chief. And then the city administrator's salary is as the council recommended following the city administrator's performance evaluation. I recommend a motion to approve resolution 2025-12-22-02.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing that there's none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. 5.4, resolution 2025-12-2203, contingency transfer.
Mayor and Council, this is one more last resolution of the year, formally making some movements in our finances. So each year we budget at least $50,000 in contingency funds in the general fund that's used to provide additional funds for unknown costs. This year we recommend using those funds to cover expenditures in the general fund, Department for Recreation Administration. So this resolution transfers those excess funds to that department and it is reflected in the 2025 supplemental budget. Recommend a motion to approve resolution 2025-12-22-03.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing that there's none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. On to 5.5, Axon agreement.
evening, Mayor and Council. Today, what I put on the agenda, or put into your guys' packets, is a memo from myself recommending us to move away from Motorola into Axon. Also, there's a short PowerPoint that I worked with Axon to create for you guys, so you have some general basic understanding of why we're moving in this direction. There isn't a lot that I can really say about Motorola that I have loved. It has worked, it's functioned. There's some challenges that the company has. The one thing that I have learned in my time of law enforcement, if you do something well, stick to what you do. Motorola does radios really well. Their body camera systems, their in-car camera systems, I'm not 100% sold with them. Axon has been the leading industry leader in this for a lot of years. Their products are designed around the officers. They spend a lot of time developing their product to fit officers. So over the past year, I've been working with Axon in discussing moving away from Motorola. One of the key factors that I really wanted to lay out to them was I'm looking to bring them in to grow with us. So I need somebody, a company, that can put their money where their mouth is. If we have a deficiency in a camera, what are you gonna do to step up to help us out with that? If, 5 years from now, our cameras are obsolete, are you going to be there partnering with us? What he took me through, the complete billing for this, and the PowerPoint presentation that he offered to both Nate and I, clearly they're willing to step up and join that partnership. If you look on the slideshow or the PowerPoint that was presented, there is a timeline that he has laid out for when we get our equipment to 2.5 years in, they give us what's called as a refresh. So whatever their latest and greatest product, they have us send all of our stuff back, they bring their stuff in. After 5 years, our contract is up with them. We make the determination whether or not we're going to continue with that partnership or move somewhere else. The equipment's ours. That being said, at the end of the 5-year contract, they come in and swap out all of our cameras. So they're not just saying, we're gonna be here for you, they're putting their money where their mouth is. And that to me means a lot when it comes to the price that we pay for our equipment and how we rely on that equipment from day to day. A company that's willing to step up and do that for you, I'm all in. Granted, anybody can have lip service, but they're putting it in writing. We have a timeline. We've spent a lot of time going over this contract. Motorola, as I put, our contract is done in 2026, the end of 26. That puts us in a unique spot. My intention is to go ahead and get with Axon in 2026 as well. It gives us time to get implementation of their equipment in, but we still have our old equipment which is being supported up to the end of 2026. And at that point, we can work out any bugs that we face at that time. Anytime you have new equipment, there's gonna be time frames where there's gonna be bugs involved. And this just gives me a little reassurance that, if we haven't got the bugs fixed here yet, we still have this equipment that is still functioning. So we're in a unique spot. That's why I'm wanting to move forward with this now. Any questions that you guys have about it?
Do we turn in the existing equipment, with Motorola, or is it something we don't?
No, we will keep that equipment. They currently are housing all of our body camera and dash camera videos on their cloud.
Okay.
So that's the other challenge that we have to get through, is we have to work with them on how to properly get that information back to us from them, and then we will house it in-house. With the Axon, that's 100% cloud-based. If we decided to move away from Axon in 5 years, the same thing would happen, except for, we would own the equipment. We'd keep that equipment. The problem with that equipment is if you don't have their service plans, their technology, it's worthless equipment. It's all proprietary.
There's no trade-in value or anything?
No.
There is surplus value?
We potentially could surplus. T is using Motorola equipment. There's other smaller agencies that may be looking for this equipment and to, for us to surplus that out to them, is possible.
But you wouldn't wanna do that until probably end of 2026,
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
How cumbersome will it be for our officers running Motorola and Axon at the same time?
The idea is that we would transition at a point. So we're not gonna start them on Axon and then bring them back to Motorola, but we know Motorola, we've used Motorola, they're comfortable with it. Learning Axon that's the trick. So we need to teach them how Axon's equipment works, which from what I've seen, it's not much different than what we're currently using. So I don't believe that it would cause any real headache or grief. Just learning the different technologies that they have at a fingertip now. Body camera, one of the things on the PowerPoint is the AI feature. And the body camera actually will translate, I believe it's like 60 languages. We push a button, they talk to us, it translates to us, we push the button, talk, and it translates it back.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really learning the new functionalities and, prompt buttons, things like that might be a little bit different. That's just what we're thinking about over time.
Yeah, I don't believe they would struggle with it. I think they would overcome that hurdle fairly quickly.
So would we be running Motorola until you'd said the end of the year?
Motorola contract will cease at the end of 2026. We will have their equipment if we need to utilize it. Say, for whatever reason, Axon comes in and their whole system is not functioning in its ecosystem like it's supposed to be. So they have to come in and, send a tech down to fix our ecosystem, so we no longer have that equipment at our fingertip. We can still jump into Motorola and still use that till the end of 26.
Basically, we can test out Axon while still having a system available.
Will we do a hard cutoff on all officers, all vehicles at once, or are you gonna rolling change, phase it in? Do you think?
Oh, we'll do a hard cut
All
at
at once,
some point.
okay.
Is there any sort of like non-compete, like was there anything within Motorola saying that we can't use Axon?
No.
Okay.
The contract was for a 5-year term with Motorola. And it's just a plain language contract. When the contract's done, it's, you're done with having access to our proprietary system. That's basically what it says.
On your PowerPoint, you're calling out a total savings over a 5-year period. Is that based on what we're paying today, or what is that based on?
That would be the base on the program on which we set up for the 5-year period.
So that's like based on their retail cost or whatever, so that's what they're saying, they're giving us a discount of. How does that compare to what we're paying today?
Currently, right now, we have no discounts with Motorola. For the amount that we're paying to get into Axon to what we had to pay with Motorola, there's gonna be a difference to it, in the sense that we have radios involved with that particular package. So their equipment at the time was less expensive than Axon is currently right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have not checked into what Motorola's current price is, but if I had to bet, it's gonna be very comparable.
They give you a savings because of the 5-year contract?
Yes, because we bundled and we went with the contract option, where if we were to purchase this equipment outright, we'd be paying at least $30,000 to $40,000 more.
And, yeah, whatever service or whatever you need to. And this includes installation of the equipment.
They will be
And the
sending
cars.
text down.
After that 5-year period, would we assume that savings, or did they offer any other bundles moving forward after that? Do you know?
As of right now, not putting the cart in front of the horse. This is something that is for now for the first 5 years.
Okay.
What my big push was kind of like, we've discussed this with most everything we do with this municipality currently. We are trying to grow and we're trying to set a blueprint. If I'm not here tomorrow, this is the blueprint for the guy that comes in. He has a contact, he's got a contract. All he has to do is make that phone call. At the end of that 5-year term, my intention is to continue with Axon. So then we would look at a new contract, probably another 5-year contract. Municipality size of ours, that makes sense, 0% APR. That's pretty appealing for the amount of money in this equipment.
So you'll still be running the Motorola radios,
Yes,
the radio side of it?
that will not change.
Okay, and how new are they?
Currently, we got those, and I believe is 2020 is when we received those radios. Average lifespan on a portable radio is gonna be right around 10 years.
Okay.
I mean, some departments, they'll start updating their equipment after about 7 years, which is what I will probably start doing, buying 1 or 2 radios. But we also have another option that I'm looking into, which is AT&T's FirstNet radio. It's a completely cellular device. You can hook it up to your cell phone. We can program the Wi-Fi from every business in this town, and it will just pick it up as we go in. We no longer will need the $30,000 for repeaters, extra programming. We'll start phasing that out as long as technology allows it.
The only question I have is in the memo, in your implementation for the contract, point 2 says that year 1 is $3,089.55, but in the presentation it's referencing this 2026 as $9,268.65. So what's the difference in the cost? Is that like monthly, quarterly? What is the?
That is the first original one that we received. The
Okay.
new one actually reflects that.
Okay.
The new quote. We had to alter it. Originally, my plan was to pay off Motorola with funds still available for 2025. Pay the $10,000 off in 2025, and then use the allocated $10,000 for Axon in 2026. Unfortunately, we didn't have the $10,000 that was available. So I went back to Axon, and they said, well, let's help you out. So they cut it down from $10,000, stretched it out over the payments a little bit larger, and got us down to less than $4,000 to get in year
Okay.
1.
So the $3,089.55 is year 1 cost then?
Yes.
February 2026, $3,089.55. And then after that, starting in January of 27, $24,098.55. That must be an older version.
Yes, that's the first original version.
Is Axon kind of the industry standard,
They
that
are.
stuff?
85% market share, that's pretty dominant.
Yeah.
Everybody.
As I said, when you do something well, you stick to it.
So-
And that's what they've done.
Just to kind of understand the history, and it kind of references, just to kind of clarify, when we originally went to Motorola, it was primarily a less expensive option. Is that the rationale at the time?
At the time, the ecosystem that they were promising us was a really great option for a municipality our size. It was fairly reasonable for the market. The amount of equipment which we bundled in and for the package that they offered us with the financing, it was very tough to find when we got this.
Help me understand the rationale of a March 1 launch. If we're going to already have Motorola covered for the year, I know that getting everyone educated on it is priority 1, so it's a seamless transition, but 10 months of double coverage seems like plenty of time to get used to it. Is that, how do I
Correct.
understand that?
The timeline is not a set in stone timeline. The timeline was estimated for when we were going to be purchasing our 2026 squad car. What they wanted to do, or what we had discussed, was having them come one time, sending all their techs down here to do all of our equipment at one time. Instead of, right now, we could have them come down and do 2, and then we still have 1 that we have to get yet. And then they would have to send another tech back down here to do that. That timeline is not hard. That is a very flexible timeline. And as we go into these discussions, we have to line up with their techs. So we could be into this fairly early into 26, I would say.
And cost wouldn't change?
No, no. Because we still have to have our IT talk to their IT for the ecosystem portion of it, and they have to line up a time where we can all meet together or get them all in the same room at the same time. And I'm assuming that's when we'll get a hard and fast timeline for this. That makes sense?
Yeah, I'm still a little perplexed, just if we look at like just fourth quarter, and say, let's say, we're doing a 60-month agreement, and we're gonna use 10 of those months up while we still have a service. What if we looked at October 1st as launch, so we then stretch out, instead of using up 7 months in 2026 when we have already got service, why wouldn't we start at October 1 and only use 3 months of our 60-month agreement in 2026?
Minimizing the double uptime.
Yeah.
Use your full agreement with Motorola, then
Correct.
transition.
Use close.
As much as you can.
Right, but still allowing for a transition.
Yeah. That way, and I think what you're getting at here is to, you're paying this money anyway.
Right.
For the 5 years. Use it until you no longer have to, give yourself a couple months cushion and go with Axon late in the year.
Right.
Okay.
And if there's reasons that doesn't make sense, I'm just not aware of what they are, and I'd love to be educated.
The only hurdle that we discussed was the fact that we don't know when we're gonna get the 2026. We purchase it January 1, we find a vendor, and then by the time that we typically would get that car back, it's gonna be September. So, between us getting in line with whoever's already purchased those cars, and then we have to send it to an outfitter to get everything installed into it, there is a lag. And traditionally, we have not received those cars till the latter part of August, sometimes into September.
Right.
I think the last one was October.
I just want to stretch your budget as much as I can.
Yeah.
I know.
Either way, you're getting the benefit of today's pricing on the Axon package, but still maximizing your use of the Motorola package. With what you're proposing.
Right.
I could see where the shortfall would be the additional 7 months at the end of the 60-month term. How much time do you feel is adequate for that transition period?
I would bet we could have everybody trained within a couple months, and then be comfortable with it within a couple months. But this ecosystem has a lot more to offer than what we currently have, so I might be a little bit ahead of myself by saying a couple months. It might take them a little longer to get to it, or get comfortable with that ecosystem.
I think some of those features probably, but like the use and function of it probably is gonna be pretty quick, but it's just those features and the back end of it, how to navigate in it.
I'll say I've been through 2 ERP changes in my company over the last 8 years, and it's not a quick transition. Like, trying to squeeze it in 3 months, I'd be very scared myself, but
Well, and it's,
I don't know anything about this system, so
Complicated.
Right.
I
Very
think,
it's the safety of our officers too, and that's where I'm like, I'm okay with starting this contract. I mean, I see your point, I just don't know if it's worth the 7 month, I don't know.
Would it be worthwhile to, what we're doing tonight isn't setting an implementation timeline necessarily, right? It's setting that we're okay making this move over to Axon and paying a little bit more next year to make it happen. Would it be reasonable to say, yes, let's do this, but chief, stretch this out as far as you logistically can? I don't know
I
what that
completely
timeline
agree with
is,
Bill's comments and the spirit behind it. Like, let's use up that Motorola contract as long as we can, that makes sense, while still giving us adequate training time. And like, ideally, we'd be cut over as close to December as possible without obviously cutting it close and rushing your team or anything like that. So I mean, it's up to you to set that timeline and what makes sense for your team with trying to stretch it as long as we feel comfortable with.
But ultimately, this is your call. And if March 1 makes the most sense for safety and for adaptation, it is what it is. You're the expert on this. If we can wait till August 1, September 1, before we start the contract, and we just save ourselves, 4 or 5 months of renewal.
No, I completely understand with everything, and when it comes down to the officer safety point of view, yes, I agree. We need to make sure that they're comfortable with this before we just throw them to the wolves. When we went with Motorola, everything was hard and fast. I mean, thank God, here, the short end of that is a body camera has a few functions onto it typically. Our Motorola cameras, they don't have the bells and whistles. It's a push a button, you turn it on, push a button to turn it off. If you need to mute the microphone onto it so you can have a conversation with another officer, there's a little button for that. So they're pretty, user-friendly items. This, although it does have more technology implemented, it's the same concept. It's push a button, it turns it on, or it automatically will turn itself on, if, depending on what happens. There's, if they draw their weapon, there's a button that's attached to their holster that will automatically turn it on. If it hears a gunshot, it's gonna turn on. Turn on the interior camera, it's gonna turn on. So yes, there are different features to this that we do need to get comfortable with, and they need to understand they're there and at their ability to use it. I don't think it would take to generally teach them how to use it. But you're right, the AI side of it and the back-end side of it, the features, that's gonna take some time to wrap their head around it.
I would want, in that line of work, you want to know it like the back of your hand. You don't want to have to be thinking while you're doing your job.
Correct.
What do I do, so.
That's kind of the nice thing about all the automation features, it's fast for when it turns on and when it doesn't. But, there are quirks with every new technology that we're using. I'm not nearly as concerned about our officers being comfortable with it as I am with the system just working out of the box. These are complicated things, we're tying them together with all kinds of other communication systems, it's just complicated stuff. So, I think if council's amenable, a motion to approve the Axon quote, I assume we'll have an actual contract coming after that. But if you're fine with that, I'd like to ask Chief Erickson to come back with an implementation timeline update at some point, so that because we've got vehicles that this needs to be included in, we've got a new vehicle that needs to have the build included in it, which is complicated, and then we've got just the regular work. So I think there are a couple of different things that need to come together on that timeline, but we can firm that up a little bit.
That 26 vehicle is included in that 3, correct?
Yes. Currently, the vehicles that are included in the install are gonna be the 21, the 23, and the 26 when we receive it.
The patrol car that you drive doesn't have one currently, right?
That is correct.
Right, just because it's not really used for patrol,
Right.
but you wear body cam when you
I
do.
Yes.
You got a little camera goes right on top of it.
With the headlamp?
A little siren on top.
Unfortunately, that squad car doesn't even have a radio.
No.
Sure, yeah.
We tried to turn it into an admin car, but
Yeah.
we had to take everything out of it to put it into the 23. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As a reminder, if we are going to surplus that vehicle, the fire department has asked for a command vehicle, so.
Yeah.
No, I like where we're going with this, I think it's a good idea. Any other discussion? We didn't have a motion on this yet, did we?
No.
No, okay. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the Axon agreement. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, motion is approved.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
I'll get that updated as soon as I get done talking to Jake about it.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 5.6, discussion on street plowing policies.
Mayor and Council, this item was requested by Alderman Swear and Welch. Sorry, I'm pulling my memo here a second. Superintendent Lathrop is here to provide information and suggested action if appropriate. I did include in your packets the policies we drafted in 2019. Those really have not been updated, I don't think, since then. At the time we implemented them, because there was no system in place. It was just kind of fly by the seat of your pants operation. So we wanted something firm in place at that time, and that's what resulted. We can certainly update that if we need to. But any questions, we'll be happy to provide whatever information we can.
Yeah, I think, we just, kind of wanted to just bring it up for discussion, and, you know, after Mother Nature threw what she did at us, and.
Sure.
And you guys did do a fantastic job. You know, but there was maybe a little confusion amongst the community from a small portion, of
Yep.
course. Just, well, what, where does the money come from, you know, to take care of the streets?
Sure.
You know, why can't we do bare pavement? Well, we sure can, but it's gonna cost some money.
It's very expensive.
Yeah, just to kind of throw it out there again and,
Sure.
and talk about it. So.
I don't know if you guys want me to start, if you have any specific questions, I guess I can just kind of go through what a typical snow event looks like, for us. I guess it will kind of start with the forecast. I think the last couple of years we've been semi-lucky with the amounts that we're getting every time. I constantly reference the winter of '22 and '23 when I talk about it snowed every other day, it seemed like, for 3 months. But the last couple of years has been kind of quiet. We're usually about the 4 to 6 inch or below that range, which is kind of right on the edge of a snow alert. Most of that time, I know for some people it's very difficult to find a spot that's not on the street, so we just kindly ask that you move your vehicles. I guess this time around, the first one and the most recent one were kind of that same way. We thought the second one was also going to be that way, but then last minute they upped it 2 to 4 more inches real late in the timeline, so that was kind of a hurry up and get the snow alert out. But as far as the timing of when the snow hits is usually, that dictates when we get out and move snow. But in that time, there's always regular traffic, so by the time sometimes we even start, there's especially the high traffic areas that are hard packed already. And we have 2 machines that can use down pressure to try to scrape through some of that. Unfortunately, both of those machines come with the most expensive cutting edges, and they can be gone through really quickly, especially if we're starting with bare pavement, the first snowfall. We went out twice with that one, and I think after the first one, the cutting edges on the grader already needed to be turned over. The second time around, there was a bit more snowpack, so it was less brutal on them, but it cost me about $5,000–6,000 to get cutting edges for everything. But all the other plows, they just rely on the weight of the plow itself and gravity. So it's more or less just moving the snow that hasn't, been touched. If it's hard pack, it's almost impossible with those. I could do it with the 2 that we have. It would take 2 people a week to get through town and try to deal with some of that. But I think we manage it well, as well as we can. We don't have a system to pre-wet roads like Sioux Falls does, other larger cities. I don't even know how much that stuff costs. It requires a permit from the state, so it doesn't contaminate your storm drains or your stormwater runoff. I don't even know what that application process looks like. We sort of had a system when we bought the 2012 International a couple years ago. It was just kind of set up. I guess we'd have to do a bunch of work to it to even make it work, but I guess that could be an option for the future. If we were to do that, I would suggest that be emergency routes, which is typically what we focus on at the beginning of a storm anyway, and throughout the snow falling. I think the best way that I have found to manage any of the snow and ice is to kind of follow the policy that we do have in place, which is the emergency routes, high traffic areas, school zones, any road that has a curve to it, which in the last few years now there's about double the amount of curved roads than there used to be. But we've also implemented new equipment for the sanding. It's a learning experience with something new. The old system that we had was incredibly unreliable, and I think it was using way more material than needed. But as far as this particular time, there's only so much I can do when it's 40 degrees and raining one day, and the next day it's like 10 degrees. I don't know what else I can really do with that besides putting sand on every inch of every street, which is incredibly expensive. We don't do straight salt. We don't have a way to cover it, so there's not really any storage that's out of the elements. We've kind of talked back and forth on getting salt sand mix and salt, and then mixing them together makes it a little bit lighter in the spreaders. I think it will help, but just the main hang-up is that we don't have a way to store it. It's way more expensive. I think if we did a 50-ton each mix, we're looking at about $10,000, and that could last, well, the last 2 years we've had one pile, but in 23 we had to order 3 times. So I guess it kind of depends. You could go 10 years or 10,000 over 3 years, or 30,000 in 1 year. I mean, it just kind of depends on how much snow you get. But yeah, after there was effectively an ice skating rink on most of the town, I had 2 guys out all day, 2 days in a row. That went through about 80% of our stockpile, just to try to get it somewhat manageable. But I think at that point, it's Mother Nature does the most. I'm grateful for the last week. December kind of started hard and fast. I'm glad that it's kind of calmed down here. Hopefully, at least for the next week, that would be ideal. Give everybody some time off. Every time I look at the forecast and I see snow, it's never on a Tuesday. It's been on Saturdays. So I got a great group of guys that know exactly what they're doing. We hold each other accountable, and we're always there for each other. So I think the time I started here, it took us about 12 hours to get the entire town done. And the first snowfall, we got the entire town done twice in 8 hours. So I feel like we're doing well. Some of the stuff that's on that policies is a bit outdated. A lot of it is still relevant. The map, I've changed that a little bit. I think that zoning map was made when there was only 3 full-time guys. Now I have 4. So I've kind of stretched it into 4 zones. I've reshaped them. Plus with the addition of countryside, I call it the north, the west, the east, and the rest. So they're divided. Everything that's north of the railroad is one zone. Everything that's south of the railroad, west of Maine, is a zone, and then east of Maine, south of the railroad is the 3rd zone. And then the 4th guy will finish emergency routes right away, and then jump on the southwest corner of town, which would be 7th and Blaine Academy, down that way. And then the rest would be, I got a couple good guys in the water, wastewater that will jump in. The smaller trucks with the V-plows and the spreaders, they will get sidewalks, cul-de-sacs, dead ends, multi-use trail, the alleyways, water towers. They kind of hit everything that's small that I'm not really thinking about at the beginning of a snowfall event. I'm looking at trying to get everything opened and widened. But I couldn't make any of this happen without the guys that I have, so I think it's done well. I wish we had a better way to manage ice. I'm open to suggestions.
Can you talk a little bit more? I know it was in your report, but the possibility of a hoop shed for the salt sand mixture. Can you just talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so I've talked to a few different people. I was actually connecting really well with a gentleman from Sioux Steel. We've been playing phone tag for the last week and a half. I'm sure he's out some days, and then I've been gone also. It doesn't need to be anything large, but it would need at least 3 sides covered. We'd have to pour a pad. 4-inch asphalt wouldn't be overly expensive, but we would need some sort of K-rail or bunker blocks, to raise it up enough that we could get any sort of material in there. I would guess, depending, I haven't got numbers on what even a 24-foot wide by 30-foot long hoop shed would cost. I would imagine probably 20, somewhere in there. That's the discussion that him and I have been wanting to have, but I haven't been able to connect. Everything else I could probably, the pad and the concrete, I could probably get done for less than 10, with labor and time and everything. But I think the biggest part is, once I build it, then I have to fill it, and that's, I mean, salt itself is about 40% more expensive than the stuff that we get now. And I guess the only way I can justify buying any of it now is if I get it and use it right away. Because if I let it sit, water's gonna get to it, it's gonna clump up, it's gonna soak into the ground right where it sits, and I'll have a 30-foot spot where there's no ice, and that's it. So, it's a real, I mean, we've even talked about even smaller things. I had a rather funny suggestion from one of the guys that let's just go buy a cart corral from Menards and we'll put some salt in there, but I think they're in the same boat as me, especially with the sand that we use now in the spreaders. It sits and it's in the element, so it's heavy and it's wet, and that means you make sand castles out of wet sand, so it clogs really easily. So yeah, I think any sort of cover would be ideal. We've thought about trying to put it inside the shop. It's not really feasible. Then we have no room for some of our equipment. I think that type of covered shed would do wonders. If I could ever squeeze that into the budget, that would be great. So
You waste a lot of time on clogging.
more than I would like to admit. When it's running great, it is incredibly efficient. But it just takes somebody to bump the auger just enough that it speeds it up. It can't dump it out slow enough, or it can't spin out fast enough as it goes in. So yeah, once it clogs, then you have to stop. And it doesn't take long, but when it happens 2 or 3 times in the first 15 minutes, when it's really cold out and dark in the middle of the night, it's kind of annoying. But most of the time, I think we're about dialed into where we don't really need to worry about that. But you can only put an X amount of weight in it, so when it's real heavy, there's less sand you can put in it. So if it's dry, it runs through a lot better, especially if we could mix salt in it that's even lighter than sand. I think it would be beneficial in every way.
Thank you.
What can a resident do to help if they wanted to help?
I mean, if they would like to, put salt on their own sidewalks, one of the things that we don't see it a lot, but we definitely do see is some residents will push snow out into the road. That's very frustrating. I get that nobody wants snow in front of their approach. At least they get to move it now. I have to wait another 12 hours till I get home. But I guess I don't know if there's anything that they really could do to help. I get maybe having some understanding and grace, that would be helpful. But as far as something practical, keeping your cars off the street even after we've come by with the plow. The snow alert is not expired yet, so please leave it, especially after a lot of these storms. Wind comes in behind it and blows the snow right back on the road, so then we deal with drifting and people won't move their vehicles, or they try to park them in front of their approach. That can be kind of frustrating to try to, then we'll have to go around them, but the snow's still right there, so now your car's buried, and by the time you get it out, I'm gonna come back and move the snow off the road anyway. But I think for the most part, everybody does fairly well. It can be definitely frustrating for some if you're out blowing your snow or shoveling before the plow has gone by. If you want to get out, if you're looking down your driveway to the left side, of your driveway. If you wanna move a bunch of that snow, then all the snow that I have built up on my plow will fall into that open spot. But also, if you have done it and we haven't gone by yet, you kinda have to expect that there will be more snow at the end of your driveway, because I haven't moved it yet. But I think for the most part, everybody has been understanding. I've got way more thumbs this year than other fingers, so far, so good. That's good.
You know, and the putting snow in the street thing, you know, there's, I think this year we probably will see our first ticket for that, like it is frustrating.
Do we have repeat offenders that think that's okay?
I don't know if they're repeat offenders or not, I imagine there are some. There are folks that just don't know. There are folks that know and just don't care, and the folks that know and just don't care are the ones I'm concerned with.
Right.
Because that's making, I mean, your problem has now been made a problem for the entire community, and that's not fair to the rest of the community.
Right.
So they're taking their snow blower or plow and just push it
up
around the street?
Yeah,
Prior to the plows, after the plows?
both.
Yeah, both.
Wow.
I'm sure some people think, well, if it's before the plows, it's a little bit more snow to push.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way of thinking about it. Obviously, you have to move it twice, because I'm gonna push it right back to where it came
Right.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, now it's just kind of piled up a little bit higher at the end of your driveway, but.
yep.
And approaches are what they are. I mean, you've got to deal with snowing your approach after the plow goes by. I do, Brian does. It's just an understanding of how, and the snow is going to go where the snow goes. It's not, I can't tell that snow where it's supposed to go when we get to your driveway. It's going to be there. Ideally, snowfall would stop at midnight every night. We could plow overnight.
Oh, yeah, that
When
would be.
nobody's driving on it. And we gotta get it down to the pavement pretty easily.
It's never.
That hasn't happened for
I
probably
make a
3 years
motion to
now.
approve that.
I wouldn't.
Because I mean, it's great, it stops snowing, we get out there, we start plowing, by the time everybody's up and moving in the morning, it's all done. And, you know, our guys get to go home and go rest at that point.
Were there quite a few accidents after the ice, or when it got warm and?
I don't.
Zero.
think there's-
Not looking at any in.
I didn't hear of any, so-
December.
No, people were driving pretty respectfully to
Yep.
certain intersections.
Yep.
I did reach out to the bulk sand dealer, and I specifically asked him if they got busy after it rained and then it got cold, and he said they were already busy, but he couldn't set the phone down. And they about ran out because everybody, any and everybody wanted it. It didn't matter if you were a municipality or a contractor or a resident that needed some extra update. At that point, I don't know what I could do that isn't incredibly expensive for just a short amount of time.
Yeah, I will say, I was in Watertown the last 2 weekends. 2 weekends ago, I was driving around town there and their roads were horrible. So I mean, like, this isn't a Lennox problem, this is, everywhere is the same thing, so it's, I think ours was in pretty good shape to be blunt, so.
My guys have spent time in Mitchell, Brookings, Sioux Falls, Laverne, Sioux Center, Sioux City, since Thanksgiving, and all of the side streets look no different than our side streets.
Right.
I think there was a little bit of confusion too, that, well, I'm paying that frontage assessment, and so
Maintenance
the,
fee.
Yeah, that
yeah, so
doesn't-
my street should be perfect. And that's simply not the case.
No,
Correct.
that street maintenance fee goes to a fund that's dedicated specifically to street maintenance. Plowing is not street maintenance. No more than cutting grass is lawn maintenance. It's not aerating, it's not fertilizing. You know, street maintenance is going to pay for slurry seals, it's going to pay for mill and overlays. It's going to pay for some gravel when we need it for our agreement with Perry Township for going down, those kinds of things. Regular road. Not plowing, not salt sand mix.
Brian, go ahead.
I haven't had any residents in Ward 2 reach out to me to register a complaint. I've heard of a few folks that were grateful, but no one's been ringing my phone or sending me emails about how we're doing things here, so I'm happy to report that.
Good.
The only feedback I received was we hit a former alderman's mailbox with some snow off the end of the plow.
he had a comment. He had a comment.
No, thanks for all the good information.
Yeah.
The only question that I had somebody ask is, do we have a plan in place for any of the buildup that we accumulate over time, that when it starts to thaw out, for example, that buildup of slush, do we remove that at a certain point? I know it doesn't fall within that 2 inches, but to
Yeah.
try and help
Yep, so after.
clarify for
Yep,
those.
after, we had all the ice, well, it was actually right before, the ice formed. The day it rained, it was 40 degrees, it was rather warm. I put a blade on the road, at least on some of the main roads, Main, Elm, First, Boynton, and I tried to push some of it off. I knew it was going to freeze, so I tried to get it as far off the road, without trying to go through my entire set of cutting edges in one afternoon. I can only put so much down pressure on both of those machines before the steer tires come off the ground, and it's incredibly unsafe, especially, it's not warm enough until the middle of the afternoon when there's a lot of people, school's getting out. I guess as far as when it does start to get warmer and some of that slush comes off, my main focus will be, especially if it's going to be warm for an extended period of time, will be getting everybody out to uncover all the storm drains. So that way, any snow that's melting already on the curb line has somewhere to go. And I think for the most part, we could definitely get out more and scrape down some of the slush that's there, because I mean, it's warm during the day, then it gets cold at night, so then it's really rough if you're driving at night. If I did that all the time, I would go through 3 or 4 sets of cutting edges, at least on those 2 bigger ones. That's really expensive. I guess I'm not opposed to that. I would maybe ask for a little bit more money in the snow removal budget for that. But yeah, it does happen, and that it doesn't happen on every road. More or less be the emergency routes or high traffic areas, Main, Boynton, the ones that I previously stated, that see a lot of the traffic. And unfortunately, that's most of the time where all of the hard pack and ice will form, because they're the busiest roads. So half the time before we are even able to move any of the snow, it's already hard packed. And if I could get the snow off of the road before it even falls, I would definitely do it. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, kind of.
Yes.
Any other questions for Brian?
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, thank you for your work.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I just have one more comment to add about snow, and it's nothing for our streets department, but seeing as I live near a right-of-way, I've noticed a lot of children playing in snow piles. So if you have children that are playing in snow piles, please do not allow them to do that, especially at night when it's dark. These guys running this equipment can't see those kids, and the last thing we want is a child getting buried in snow.
It's hard to see, period, especially when it's snowing, and you're trying to watch out for vehicle traffic, everything else. Those piles are a very dangerous place to be.
Just an additional reminder too, if you're able to keep your fire hydrants
Yep.
cleared out.
Makes a big difference.
And in front of your mailboxes too, right?
Impossible.
If you like getting mail.
Yeah.
Pass on what's in the mail.
Right?
Yeah. All right, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. Thanks, Rob, for joining us.
Thank you.
See you, Rob.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.
No.
Jason would be out, but he didn't even know we.
No, he responded.
This way.
No way.
Yeah.